Hi all, let's have a look at another amazing game from the London Chess Classic. This was played in round 2, Vishy Anand against MVL, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So e4 from Vishy, and we see the Sicilian defence, knight f3, we go into a Najdorf, and we have this move which was actually used by Fischer, believe it or not, h3. And actually it's getting quite popular in recent years at high levels, h3. It's kind of way down the list in Livebook, but it's a very interesting move for g4 and ideas like g5 and bishop g2 later. That d5 square is a central focus. Black played now e5. Quite often here e6 is also played. We have knight b3, bishop e6, and now actually not g4, more popular in this position against bishop e6. Here is the move f4, and potentially that bishop's going to be kicked, or it might actually try and it might just take on b3. So we see now knight bd7, and here bishop e3 has been played a bit before, for example like this sort of position, which is kind of sharp looking, but in this game we see g4, which gives g2 for the bishop, rook c8, and now f5, encouraging actually bishop takes b3. You might think, hold on a sec, what about bishop c4? Let's just check that on me. Let's just check this position. It's actually, we're kind of a little bit out of theory here, but on bishop c4, check this position. I think white's slightly better actually. Queen d3, it's gaining that key tempo, and then there's still g5 to try and get the d5 square. A sort of disaster that might happen. I think here g5 is almost disastrous for black. It looks like after casting there'll be knight d5. It looks very, very nice just to protect c2 castling. So okay, bishop takes b3, not wasting time then with bishop c4, which you might have thought is possible. A takes. Black is faced with this kind of bind on d5 and tries to liberate now with this pawn sack in the center, opening up his dark square bishop, not keeping it a prisoner. We have e takes, bishop b4. Now at the moment there isn't a key threat of rook takes c3. You might think there is. This idea, there's always bishop d2 here to protect the a1 rook. So this is kind of ignored with bishop g2. And black doesn't really want to give up the dark square bishop. There'll be things like bishop b2 after. But we have here queen b6. Now actually rook takes c3 is threatened. I'll just show you a token move example why this is threatened. Rook takes c3. Bishop takes check. There's, can you see? In this position black to play has, yeah, queen e3 check. You can actually nab the bishop instead. So this has to be addressed, this rook takes c3. We have bishop d2 now, and still g5 is in the air. e4. Okay, so here, yeah, it's an interesting position, and we have queen e2, which keeps things under control. Black castles, and white castles queenside. He dares to castle queenside. Knight c5. Now there might be some threats like knight takes b3 here, so it'll be dangerous to play g5 here. For example, a little bit dangerous. Knight takes is black's getting some play. So we have prophylaxis, king b1, rook fd8. Yeah, it seems as though black's optimistically looking forward to getting back the pawn, but white is pressurizing now this e4 pawn. Okay, now here, yeah, black plays a5, trying to sort of open things up a little bit more on the queen side. But quite a nasty pin actually, queen f2, and also means now bishop takes e4 is on the cards. there's 3 pieces now on e4, and with this pin immobilizing the knight, that helps. Queen c7 unpinning, bishop f4 now, and this gives rise to the possibility actually of d6, but d6 here is not used actually. Black is threatening things like bishop takes c3. It is quite a tense tactical position here. White actually plays bishop e5. Just have a quick look how dangerous this is if white steps inaccurately. d6 actually, bishop takes, b takes is apparently okay for white, but the problem here is more of a4, it seems, because we've got this pin on the knight on e1. So say takes here, then that's devastating with the pin. Yeah, this is better for black. It's dangerous. So we have this calm move here, trying to calm things down with bishop e5, securing c3. We have a4 anyway, but with c3 secured, this is now possible without losing the knight completely. It is actually played with the view of taking on d5. So knight takes d5. And yeah, very interesting position. It seems as though it is actually possible to try and maintain the dark square bishop technically, but it's scary to play bishop d4. This wasn't played actually. Something great, very interesting was played, but let's a quick look at bishop d4, queen b4, queen g3. Apparently this kind of thing seems a bit of a grovelly thing to do, but you know, white does have the bishop pair here, and white might claim a small advantage technically. But in the game, actually a very, very interesting move is played instead. Can you guess if I give you 5 seconds starting from now? But she really calms things down with this exchange sack. Yeah. So he sacks the exchange and he gets this other pawn. So it's 6 pawns against 4, 2 pawns for the exchange sack. We have rook d6. Now a5, and this pawn is actually, remember, it's only 3 steps away from queening potentially if it wasn't for the b7 pawn. We have queen b5, and because white has 2 pawns for the exchange, he doesn't actually mind trading off queens with queen e2. And if this is avoided, then white is getting a kind of dominating position here. If queen a4 hitting the bishop can drop back, and things like queen e5 show the power of the bishop pair, and it starts to be very dangerous. For example, queen d7 here, knight a4, bishop b4. The bishop pair is strong here. White's doing quite nicely in this kind of scenario. Remember, the back row is vulnerable, so black is kind of tied down. But yeah, black took on e2 and plays check. And now it looks lucrative to pin this bishop. But again, you might find this very surprising. Well, there's not too many choices. Bishop f3, breaking the pin. And it's running with tempo. Rook takes, bishop takes, hitting the rook. And we have rook c1, which seems logical enough. But there's a bit of a shocking surprise, which I find personally very elegant. White plays bishop f3 in this position, and after rook takes c2, can you see what white plays? And it actually causes black to resign. And I think this is kind of sweet move, a sweet move, which kind of justifies it to me, actually showing you the entire game, because it actually shows something about white's position. It's not necessarily about attacking the king. So what does white play in this position? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. A sweet move indeed. Okay, bishop takes b7. Yeah, this is actually possible. Let's have a look at this final position. Black resigned. if he takes, this is disastrous. The knights are stumbling against passed pawns sometimes. So a6 with tempo. The rook can't get back that easily. Say the rook tries to shuffle back. A takes, and then we've got bishop e5. So if rook e8, we can just play bishop e5. Yeah, winning. What else? Knight d8, a7, queening. Yeah, it's a sweet one. I thought bishop takes b7. I think it's a sweet move. Now, if black avoids taking the bishop, this ending. Let's say this. Let's try and break up the pawns. This ending is not very nice for black. I think the king could start marching and break down black. Eventually, this is all looking very, very good and strong. There's two connected passed pawns here ready to be pushed. Basically, it looks as though ultimately this is losing the two connected passed pawns. Massive advantage to white. But yeah, a sweet finish there with bishop takes b7. We rewind back here. Could black do anything around this position instead of taking on c2, given this big threat? If rook d8, bishop f3. This is looking safer for black than the game continuation. But the thing is, this is the thing about white's position. It's a 3-to-1 pawn majority here, which can start to be pushed. And it looks, with the bishop pair, this looks particularly menacing. And the king can also come and herd the pawns. Although the engine's suggesting just play that immediately without the king. If we can just get this kind of position. This is looking very, very tasty. Yeah. It's looking lost because of white's advanced pawns on the king's side. Yeah, it looks as though, I mean, the game was an acceleration for sure, but this looks terrible as well. This is just an example, massive example continuation. If the rook had decided to stumble, instead of winning c2, yeah. Sorry, instead of going back to d8 rather than rook c1, I mean. So bishop takes e2, rook d8. It's better for white. So fundamentally, the bishop pair with the pawn majority, gives white a big advantage here. So anyway, to take you back to that sweet final position. Yeah, I think that was a really cool game from Vichy. Hope you enjoyed that one. Comments, questions, likes appreciated. Thanks very much.